in our meeting. We'll start with the patriotic exercise. We have Angelina from Franklin. Please just come up. Yep, you can sit right there. Tell us about yourself and your favorite part about Franklin, and lead us in a patriotic exercise, please.
Hello, Burlingame School District board members and families. My name is Angelina Concha, and I'm a 5th grader in your school's class at Franklin Elementary. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here as part of this meeting and lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. A little bit about me. My favorite subjects are math and reading, and one thing I really love about being a 5th grader is participating in community service. My favorite part being lunch buddies. We get to be role models for younger students, and I like it when they look up to me, literally and figuratively. Being a buddy reminds me a lot of what you do on the board. We collaborate, make decisions, and set an example to help guide others. One day, I hope I can be elected to be on the board too and make a difference. Thank you again for all the work you do for our schools. Now please stand, place your right hand over your heart and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic.
Thank you, Angelina. That was great. Right. Item 3, the roll call. Trustee Mustafa. Trustee Buscetti. Here. Trustee Jay.
Here.
Trustee Brown. Here. I am here as well, all present. And towards the approval of the agenda, would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda? Thank you, Nicole. Is there a second? I'll second. To Tanya. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Item 5, public statements related to agenda items. We have a couple. We'll take them with each agenda item. Please fill out the blue card in the back if you'd like to comment. Item 6, the union statement. Mr. Byrd.
Consider standing. Chair, okay. Good evening, everyone, board members, Superintendent Silversmith, cabinet members, and Burlingame community. I want to use my brief time. I'll make it under 2 minutes, promise. To acknowledge the quiet work that's being done at every school site across our small but mighty district. The quiet work being done is that of our teachers, who are using the final trimester to map out the best practices for our small groups. The quiet work of our students, who are making connections and feeling their light bulb moment. And there's quiet projects happening in classrooms that are culminations of learning that combine standards, various modalities that are accommodating for our students. Quiet work from our students who are finally feeling confident and enabled with a growth mindset that yes, they can learn and it is happening. The newness from the first trimester has long worn off. The excitement from trimester 2 is waning, and the excitement for summer break is really charging up. And that's where the quiet, consistent work comes in. The talented and qualified teachers that show up and lead discussions on math standards, have book talks, reenact social studies texts, have conversations about our feelings that enable social emotional growth. That's just a small part of the quiet work that's being done in our district. And the teachers in this district are diligent, they're collaborative, and they're the faces that our students so lovingly smile at. They ask how our day is going, and we often check in after emotional drop-offs. We're the first responders in this field, and we deserve to be acknowledged for that, and we are very grateful to this district. So I'm here tonight in part to ask that the board, during closed session, also do the quiet work of accepting or recounting BEA's ongoing negotiating salary requests, and we pay the teachers for being the best to reflect that they are in fact the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Item 7, union statement from CSEA. My understanding we don't have anyone here. Item 8, statement of principal. Principal Lawrence, shine.
I'm sorry, I'm a bit flustered. And we had Science Expo at school today, so we've just been cleaning up and I'm covered in, I was scrubbing my hands trying to get rid of the food dye and I didn't manage, so pardon my appearance this evening. I reached out to the principals and asked for what would they like me to talk about this evening, and I don't think I've ever had quite such a big response from the principals. Just vast list of things that are happening in schools at the moment and a lot of excitement, which is great. So since the last time we've seen you, although I saw you today, which was wonderful. Thank you. And thank you all for coming to sites. We really do love having you on our site, on our campuses. It's such a joy to see you there. It's wonderful that you get to see the great teaching and the wonderful students in person. Anyway, back to the list. We've had TK through 3rd grade musicals showcases at all the schools, which were heavily attended by parents. And at Franklin, we had informances, which means that the parents were actually involved and doing things, which was really, really fun. And they're not as good at music as their children. We had not great musical prowess amongst many of our parents, but I'm sure they'll if they listen to Mr. Cantor Adams, they will definitely have picked up a lot. We've had BIS to schools doing musical visits, which was fantastic, so that the kids can see where they're going to get eventually. We've had registration happening everywhere, and I'm going to pause for a minute. Just anybody out there or out in the ether, we need you to register, please, everybody. We really need families to complete registration for next year so that we can make sure that we know how many staff we need back and that we can get recruiting if we need to recruit. We have today some restorative practices train the trainers, which we're all super excited about, and we're excited to bring that back onto campuses. We had CASP testing, the dreaded CASP test is coming up, so we did some practice tests to make sure that our Wi-Fi would withstand the vast numbers of children getting onto the computers, and good news is that it did, which is great, so thank you, Jessie, thank you for that. We've had puberty ed in many schools, which has been fun, especially at Franklin. It was the first week back after spring break, which was a kind of an interesting welcome back. We've begun piloting UFly, which is a new phonics program, which those teachers are very excited about, and so we're looking forward to finding out the results of that at the end of the trimester. And we had end of trimester 2 report cards go out, and that's at every site. If we then look at individual sites, the list kept going from the principal, so I'm going to keep going, even if this goes over my 2 minutes. Individual schools, Roosevelt and Hoover are very excited to be California Distinguished Schools. Science Olympiad and Science Expos happened at Roosevelt and Franklin. At Roosevelt, Walkathon happened, and they wanted me to shout out the speed and efficiency of the project to put in place the new retaining wall, which is keeping students safe. So thank you very much for whoever did that. Was that Richard? Thank you. Thank you from Roosevelt. At Washington, they've had a pancake breakfast and a variety fair. At Hoover, they've had math night, a book fair, and family lunch. At McKinley, there's been bingo night and the Marine Science Institute. At Lincoln, talent show, walkathon, and a lion dance. And at BIS, multicultural night, leadership classes' first lunchtime soccer tournament, which sounds right up my alley. I don't know why I wasn't invited. 6th graders' presentation about vaping and drug prevention. And we all need to know that the We Will Rock You musical is coming up in May, so I hope you've all bought your tickets. And that is it from the principals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Principal Lawrence. Item 9 is a statement from the superintendent, Dr. Silversmith.
I love going after the principals. I have very little to say. Just a couple add-ons. The McKinley biography tea was a hit in March. We moved our temp DO onto Franklin's campus. Thank you, Principal Lawrence and Franklin, for sharing your Wi-Fi. We appreciate it greatly. The district celebrated World Down Syndrome Day, which took place on March 21st because people with Down syndrome have 3 21st chromosomes. Many of us attended the BCE soiree on March 22nd, and we're very thankful for everything that BCE does for us, including providing 19 teachers to the Burlingame School District. Assistant Superintendent Paveo and I also attended the ASU GSB Summit, which was about artificial intelligence in schools and education. we're excited to continue the conversations about what we can do with that within our district. I also had the pleasure of attending the Cal Soups conference where we had a lot of conversation around budget and what we're seeing, even the difference between the original budget in January and what we're hearing will probably come out next month in May. And I know that our current fiscal department and our HR department is currently attending the CASBO conference in San Jose right now, learning more about that. We did just today refund our bonds, and so there will be a great information coming out to our community. But we are very excited to say that we are saving our community a lot of money. So look for a very nice press release this week. And finally, thank you to Deputy Superintendent Skatina, Matt and I were attending our conference. He attended for us the Supporting Inclusive Practices Conference, where we were awarded the Heart of Inclusion Award, which is a great honor for our district. So we are very excited to be the recipient of this award through Supporting Inclusive Practices. So congratulations, Burlingame School District. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a way to consolidate many items considered by the board to be routine business. These items often require approval but do not need discussion. All trustees have reviewed the items in advance of the board meeting. Members of the board, staff, or public are able to request specific items to be discussed and removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. The superintendent and staff recommend approval of all consent items. Movement of any suggested consent items is appropriate at this time. Like to move anything. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Doug. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Katie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Item 10. That leaves us item 11, student requested item, Mr. Mudd.
You're okay. Mr. Marcus is gonna come help you get set up.
Dr. Silverson. Thank you for allowing us to present to you this evening.
As you know, we are here on behalf of EAS, a student body as a pilot program. My name is Sorensen, and I'm the student body 7th grade president at EAS.
My name is Henry Mudd. I'm the 8th grade student body president, and we will be presenting to you tonight about chocolate milk, and then would love to answer any questions that you might have.
Let's bring back chocolate milk.
Sweet revival. Although you might think that chocolate milk is not allowed in schools, it actually is, if they meet certain criteria. To quote California Department of Education, fat-free, and low-fat fluid milk may be flavored or unflavored. If flavored milk is offered, then the other milk choice must be unflavored. And beginning of July 1st, 2025, it must not exceed the established limit of added sugars of more than 10 grams of added sugars per 8 fluid ounces. The nutritional guidelines were last reviewed October 30th, 2025.
There were stopping chocolate milk bans, but the USDA eventually decided against it. Flavored milk options, such as chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry milk, are the most consumed beverages within the school meals program, leading to higher program participation, less plate waste, and greater consumption of essential nutrients children need to grow and thrive in school and life. This goal is a snippet of from the International Dairy Foods Association, the IFA.
Audit shows that chocolate milk is needed and is possible to get back. Sodexo, our current food provider, can provide half of the current amount of milk we get in chocolate and half in regular, which makes it so that it doesn't cost us any more than it already does. But it would give us an opportunity for increased revenue. The Sodexo chocolate milk contains 7 grams of added sugars per 8 ounces, so it does fit the state requirements.
3 reasons to bring about chocolate milk. Nutritional benefits for students.
Chocolate milk provides essential vitamins and minerals that kids currently don't get because most of them don't drink milk.
Increased student satisfaction.
Students enjoy chocolate milk, leading to happier mealtimes.
And promotes healthy habits.
Retaining chocolate milk encourages balanced dietary choices because they'll be getting new nutrients that will balance the healthy food that students already eat.
Nutritional benefits of chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk is a fantastic source of nutrients.
Chocolate milk provides essential nutrients like protein, potassium, calcium, vitamin B12, and riboflavin, electrolytes, and more. It strengthens bones, provides protein sources for muscle repair, and also aids digestion. And it balances fat vitamins.
What do students think? These graphs show a 57.5% increase in the amount of students at BIS who will be drinking milk, flavored or unflavored. This proves that the students will want to drink milk, so getting chocolate milk back at our school would truly benefit us. Osteoporosis and other bone disease problems are caused by things like a lack of milk. Teaching kids to start drinking milk regularly at this age could prevent problems like that. Osteoporosis, a disease caused by lack of bone density, something that can be strengthened by milk, has increased almost 8% in the last 10 years. Teaching kids to drink milk regularly at an age like this can prevent events like osteoporosis and other bone density problems in their future.
If you approve chocolate milk at BIS, we will run a pilot test. We'll have student volunteers from ASB staying at trash cans during lunch, monitoring how much they eat. They will have a paper that looks similar to the one on the screen. And as students throw out their trash, they will mark off each column. This way, after a certain period of time, we will know whether or not students will eat their lunches with the addition of chocolate milk. If they do, we are hoping that you will approve chocolate milk in the long term.
To conclude, chocolate milk should be allowed back at Burlingame Intermediate School. It has many nutritious benefits and will provide kids with more nutrients than they currently get, because most of them don't drink milk. It will also increase student satisfaction. Chocolate milk is allowed and is not banned. The current provider we have fits the state criteria, so it wouldn't cost us anything more than it already does. Parents and students at public schools also agree that students should have the option of having chocolate milk. Drinking milk regularly, flavored or unflavored, at this age can prevent problems in the future like osteoporosis. Students love chocolate milk and would be much happier if we had it. Let's bring back chocolate milk. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you both very much for that. Before we discuss this further, board members, I made a mistake. I should have allowed public comment before the presentation. So we have 2 public comments. One is Owen. Is Owen here? Yes, Owen, if you could please sit over here. I would love to hear your thoughts.
Hello everyone, I'm Owen Milks and I read this on behalf of Jackson Warren. Hello, I'm Jackson Warren, a 7th grade student. Since the 2nd grade, I've been eating school lunches. I remember chocolate milk is something I used to motivate myself. If I got a good grade on a test, I would reward myself with a sweet milk rather than a normal one. I tried to practice moderation. Some days have normal milk and some days have chocolate milk. It added variety and choice in my day, where otherwise I had to listen to teachers and tell me what to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Owen. And Mr. McLaughlin, sir, thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. I commend our students for investigating the relationship between nutrition and osteoporosis. However, their hypothesis that serving milk with added sugar will reduce the risk of osteoporosis is scientifically flawed. Allow me to explain why and propose more effective alternatives. Osteoporosis is uncommon in young adults with a prevalence of less than 1%, but it escalates as our students showed us to over 17% by age 75. Approximately 2/3 of the risk is genetic, and 1/3 is influenced by nutrition and lifestyle. Childhood diets are crucial because achieving higher peak bone density during adolescence significantly lowers the risk of osteoporosis later in life. Our students are correct that milk provides essential nutrients for bones, including calcium, vitamin D, and protein. However, all optimal bone formation also depends on efficient absorption of the minerals in the gut, minimal renal loss of the calcium, and a low inflammation environment that favors bone building cells, osteoblasts, over bone breaking cells, osteoclasts. Contrary to the student's claim, added sugar in milk undermines bone health through 3 main mechanisms. Reduce calcium absorption. Excess sugar disrupts gut microbiota, impairing calcium uptake. 2, increase calcium excretion. Sugar elevates urinary calcium loss, depleting bone mineral stores. 3, systemic inflammation. Sugar promotes inflammation, activating osteoclasts that break down bone. Multiple peer-reviewed studies confirm that higher sugar intake correlates with poor peak bone density in adolescence. Better alternatives for strong bones. To promote bone health among students, consider these alternatives. Fermented dairy, kefir or yogurt, which have beneficial probiotics promoting gut health. Low oxalate greens, such as kale or bok choy. Potassium rich and anti-inflammatory fruits, such as bananas and berries. And micronutrient dense proteins, such as eggs. So a truly bone-friendly school meal could include a kefir, kale, banana, blueberry smoothie with a hard-boiled egg. This should be served promptly, of course, to allow students time for weight-bearing exercises like jump roping during their recess. And this brings me to the most important part of my comments, which is nutrition education matters. The focus on chocolate milk with added sugar highlights a gap in our nutrition education curriculum. Board Policy 5030 emphasizes teaching nutrition and healthy eating habits at all grade levels. Reviewing the curriculum could help ensure our students understand the long-term consequences of excess added sugar on their health. I urge the board to reject the proposal and prioritize foods that genuinely support student health while aligning with evidence-based guidelines. Let's seize this opportunity to educate our students about real bone-friendly nutrition so that they can make informed choices for lifelong health. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. At this time, board member questions for our presenters are appropriate.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was excellent. I had a question about the surveys that you plan to do, if the pilot's approved, regarding students eating the meal or not eating the meal. Is the concern that people may get the meal just for the milk and then not eat the meal? Is that what you're trying to figure out?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I had a question about that as well. In that data analysis, will you be looking at students who are choosing chocolate milk separately from students who are choosing regular milk, or would that data all be combined? Or maybe you haven't kind of gotten to that part of the process in designing your data analysis. Yeah, but it does feel like there would be a place to look at how students who are choosing white milk consume their food and whether that's different or similar to the way students consume their food if they're choosing chocolate milk.
Well, now that you say that, I think that it would be better that if we'll ask everyone to throw away if they have chocolate milk, so
or throw in a specific trash can if you had chocolate milk, so you could one only the picture.
I had a couple questions for you guys. You collected over 800 responses. How did you acquire that data?
So I made a Google form and I sent it out to the advisory classes. The whole teacher, they put it maybe in the classroom or on the slides. And so they had the students fill out all the questions, there's only 2 questions. So that's how we just got the interest.
Great, so every person could only fill it out once?
Yes.
Okay. And then another fun question for you. What do your parents think of this plan? I mean, we just haven't, none of the data talk about how parents in the community feel. You know, asking to know how parents in the community feel?
My parents are in support of it.
I'm not sure, we haven't, like sent any, forms out to parents, if you would like to do that, we could.
Okay. That, it would be an interesting data point to learn if parents feel the same way. I had questions for the district office. It's my understanding this proposal is kind of cost neutral. Is that accurate? But I'm wondering, based on the data that they collected, which is really great, do we have a lot of food waste with the regular milk right now that is therefore not cost neutral, or does this just go back to Sodexo or
Well,
the
the cost
unused
neutral,
milk right now?
yeah, the cost neutral part is, ordering the chocolate milk and the milk kind of in the same quantity, so we're not ordering more chocolate milk, altogether than we are now, so.
What's happening to the regular milk we're ordering now that, according to this, it's not being used at BIS? Does it just get sent back and Sodexo uses it otherwise, or are we paying for this and never using it?
The regular milk?
Yeah, the regular white milk.
Yeah, so what they're not using, I mean, it could go to waste if it expires, right?
Okay, so right now it's possible we're paying for the milk that we're not using.
Possibly, yeah.
Okay,
I
and
don't
under
know.
this plan, if they're right and it's drinking more, we'd at least be paying for a product that is being used.
Yes.
And then, this isn't really a question for you guys, but, is there anyone here that can opine as a medical or dental impact of this decision? I have no ability to, I mean, we had one public comment on it.
I don't think anybody on the dais would be able to answer that question.
Okay, so that'd be information I'd be interested in hearing more of. Along with what we're doing with the milk now and along with how parents at BIS feel about this decision. 'Cause I think it's very persuasive presentation.
I have a question. Do we have any information about how many added sugars students are consuming as a whole? Like, this increases the options for additional added sugar, but is there another place where we could remove some added sugar?
Do you mean with regards to what we're providing through child nutrition services? We are able to provide that because we have limits within breakfast and lunch and then total per day. So we are staying within those limits.
I see. So we could figure out how to structure this to be added sugar neutral if we want.
We, correct me if I'm wrong, your request is to be serving it. President Mike, can you tell me what your request is for? Just when would you like to serve your milk? At lunchtime only? Only lunchtime, okay. So, what the trustee is asking is if it's, can you remind me how many grams of sugar it is?
7 grams.
7 grams. They're saying put in 7 grams of milk and take out 7 grams of sugar somewhere else during lunchtime. Do you understand? That's what they're talking about, to make it sugar neutral?
Yeah, I think that would be.
So that might be something that we can look at our child nutrition services with too.
Yeah, as I recall, our Sodexo contract
Yeah.
specifies a maximum added sugar per meal, so this would have to, at a minimum, it wouldn't be able to go above the 30 or whatever the number is.
The other component that we'd have to work with them on is how many proteins we have to have and how many, so it might not be able to work, but that could be something that we could work on looking at. If that's the choice of the board. We do have our director from CNS in the back, so I keep looking at him too.
And then
Backing up.
I know. You don't see him walking forward, but that's another idea.
And then the second question, how long would this pilot be for? I don't know if I
This
caught that.
pilot would be from anywhere between 2 weeks to 2 months. It's honestly how much data you guys think we need to collect to build a stronger case?
Are you referring to the pilot of chocolate milk?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be till the end of the year.
So you would maybe want to bring your data back at the June 7th board meeting and present again to see if it would be something ongoing. Is that what the request is for?
Yes.
Well, if the board were to vote to approve, how long would it take to begin the program?
How long would it take for us to order it and get it in? Sorry to be on the spot,
Just a few
Dwayne.
days, I checked on that prior to coming to the meeting, so it's readily available. Whenever it's approved, we can do it.
So maybe Monday to get the data sheets and
Usually
everything.
our deliveries are for milk is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so, if
Next
I
Tuesday.
found out, say by Thursday of this week, I will have it by Tuesday next.
Do we know, right now, the way our lunches are served, do we have room to add 7 grams of sugar without adjusting other elements of the lunch menu?
That's a good question. We can go back and look and see, what that looks like. And I'm not sure if, the proposal is to serve it every day. We could probably mix it in maybe twice a week, say maybe on a Tuesday and Thursday.
I'm sorry, can I have you come to the microphone just because we have people online and everything else? Thank you. President Lett, I'm sure will share with you.
Well, good evening. I think, not quite sure, like I said, how many days a week they wanted to do it, but I think we could probably put it in 2 days a week on the menu, basically to see what that looks like. And then we can go back and kind of look at the numbers and kind of come back with at least some sort of report or data on what that looks like.
Were there further questions or comments?
Should we discuss or? state
Well,
our
what I was gonna
thoughts, or
propose is
what do you think?
it seems, I was just waiting to see if anyone had more questions. It seems like we have several pieces of information outstanding. I know I personally am afraid of voting on this issue because I would like to know more about the sugar added to the total meal, as you both outlined. I'd like to know more about medical and dental impacts of this decision. And I'd love to hear what the parents in the community think as well. I know that's not a fun piece of data to collect as it is for the students. But those 3 pieces of information for me are things I would need to know to make a decision on this. So I would propose we table it to the next meeting.
I guess I'm
Staff to find that out.
I'm falling more in favor of voting on the pilot because it feels like it's a short-term thing. I would want to stipulate that we stayed within daily added sugar limits and that we had a chance to look at it again before making it permanent, but also recognize these are 8th graders that have another couple of months left at the school, and I'm willing to consider the pilot if others are.
Very reasonable. Further thoughts on the vote on Deb's side?
I have one quick question. I grew up in Wisconsin, so lots of milk was happening there. And we didn't have a recess in the morning, we had milk break. And for milk break, we had the option of chocolate milk, but only on Fridays or on special days or days that we were celebrating and on our birthday. At the school that I went to, would you be open to considering limited number of days, like 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, something like that? Is that something you guys would be open to?
So we were thinking for the pilot, maybe like Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we could have chocolate milk, and we could be getting data on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But then if the pilot goes well, then we were hoping that you would approve it for like the whole week.
Again, just one quick observation. So with the added sugar, we need to remember that right now it's mainly for breakfast. We haven't gotten to the lunch meal yet. So we have reduced the no added sugar by 6, no added sugar for breakfast, but that's coming further down the pipe, even with USDA within the next year. I think it's either 26 or 27. So we have some time, but right now we have focused more on the lunch part of that, I'm sorry, on the breakfast part of that, more so than the lunch. So again, to your point, we still need to go back and kind of look at what that would look like by introducing that with the total sugars that we do have for lunch to see what that looks like.
Thank you for clarifying that.
So do you want to outline what you're asking? Call that for a vote.
I guess I would propose a vote on the pilot to allow it on 1 or 2 days per week, in order to collect data, and come back and, maybe have a chance for us to think more about the health effects or talk to community members or otherwise gather our own information, but, have the students come back with the data on how much of the meals are being completed, and, we can see how many meals, we're serving each month in the invoice that we approve. So I would propose that through the June meeting, and then have it end at that point if we don't take further action.
Would we be able to have the ability to keep that? Like, it sounds like we have to measure and add added sugars for lunch and then figure out if we can keep it added sugar neutral. Like, would that be part of this pilot?
I think I was hearing that we may not have the lunch limits may not be in effect yet. So,
Okay.
I was not proposing that we reorganize the lunch food components, because that feels to me a little bit like we're a wagging dog if we're considering a chocolate milk pilot, but I'm sympathetic to the argument that it's a total that matters, not the individual food item, but it seems like maybe more than we could take on for this particular initiative. My thought.
Do you want to add to this?
I would like to see clarity. I'm hearing meals completed, white versus chocolate milk. I'm hearing medical and dental. I just would like to make sure that we are able to capture information to bring back to.
Yeah.
Medical, dental, and then parent input. For clarity, Trustee Brown, is that 1 or 2 days a week?
It feels like maybe 1 day a week would be more like in line with the general view, but I'm comfortable with either. I don't know what others think.
And for me,
Either 1 day a week would give us a chance to capture data, right?
What about 1 day a week?
Well, 1 day a week, it would, that would work, but, with 2 days a week, it would be faster to collect it.
I sort of feel like if we were to do 1 day a week, that becomes such a special day that I don't know if the data would as accurately reflect what it would look like on an ongoing basis, as opposed to if it were offered more regularly. I mean, the same thing with pizza lunch on Fridays, right? Like, we don't know what pizza would, how many kids would choose pizza if pizza were offered every day, but because it's only on Friday, everybody wants pizza, right? So I almost feel like maybe 2 days would give us, so that's sort of one, it sounds like we need more information to make a sort of long-term decision. So if we were to collect information, including a pilot program 2 days a week, through June, get information from dental professionals and medical professionals, gather information from parents, all of that we could evaluate at the point where we're ready to think about whether this is something we wanted to do on an ongoing basis.
So it sounds like then what I'm hearing might be the consensus is we'll move forward with the plan as outlined, but we will instruct district staff to gather medical and dental information, parent opinion, and figuring out this added sugar content for the total meal package. You will bring that back to us in June. Is that possible?
I believe you're instructing us to work with our presidents to
Yes.
collect this information.
Yes. Would that be something your office can do by June?
Absolutely.
So my vote personally, I would be in favor with that contingency of this plan as outlined by Doug. Anyone have any further comments?
Dwayne, is there anything else that you would want us to look at from a data perspective?
Not at this.
Okay.
And I would like to hear how your parents feel, Henry.
Graham, anything?
I'm supportive of the pilot.
This is Mud. Right, this is a voting item, so all those, actually we need a motion, just don't like to make a motion to approve.
Yeah, sure. I'll make a motion to approve a pilot to offer chocolate milk 2 days per week at BIS only through the end of the school year. It will end at that time if no further action is taken by the board. We can always elect to extend it or expand it in the future. And we'll have some data to evaluate when it comes back. So that's
Is there a second?
I will second that proposal.
Thank you, Katie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mo-
Thank you guys for your decision. Yeah, this will be very exciting.
And we don't wanna see chocolate milk cartons everywhere.
Right, we're moving on to item 12A, grade level presentation, second and third grade. This will be an informational item.
Yeah, no second.
We started just a minute, Matt.
Yeah.
Right, we are moving on to 12A, education, grade level presentation for second and third grade.
Yes, as part of our continuing series, we are having our second and third grade teachers come to present on what the happenings in second and third grade. We also have some of our occupational therapist team that will also be presenting. Tonight, Kristen Hall, the third grade educator, came down sick at 3:30 today. So I'm going to be playing the part of the third grade team today, but I'm pleased to have Stephanie Garcia and Sarah Flower from Washington as our second grade team, Jessica Smith and Mindy Lee as our occupational therapists. So I will turn it over to our second grade team to walk us through all the great things in second grade.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Garcia from Washington. On this first slide, I will just go over kind of what are the standards for second grade math. So we have 4 main domains, operations and algebraic thinking, number and operations in base 10, measurement and data and geometry. But a major focus of second grade is addition and subtraction within 1000. Lots of mental math strategies, kind of really nailing down some solid tools in our toolkit like place value, number lines. I'm blinking, but lots of those. We come up with all kinds of strategies. Yeah, lots of different ones. And then number and operations in base 10, just really understanding the importance of place value, just generally how it's used, like regrouping, unbundling, all of that. Measurement and data includes measuring. This year in standard units, whereas in first grade, they're doing non-standard units, so measuring with things like paper clips or markers. And then also using addition and subtraction to find differences between measurements, working with time, and also identifying different coins and bills. And then geometry includes describing different shapes and their attributes, and then also moving into basic fractions.
Language arts is a very hefty part. There's a lot of standards that we hit. Kind of the basic overview of it for reading is Phonics is a really big part of second grade, really honing in on their phonics skills. It's mostly the last year the whole class gets explicit instruction in phonics. So really making sure that we do as much as we can to help make sure they're ready for third. In that sense, for another big thing with reading is they're starting to really focus on their comprehension with nonfiction and fiction texts, how to find the main idea and supporting details of that. For writing, we really focus on 3 main pieces of writing. So opinion, informative, and narrative. And a lot of the schools in our district cycle through that in different ways, but trying to do them a couple of times so they get really comfortable with making those. And then kind of the start of editing and revising with teacher help and peer help and things like that. And then you start to have some, with the revising and editing, adding in some basic grammar. So capitalization, punctuation, some parts of speech and things like that. And then really helping them as they're getting a little bit older and towards upper elementary and being able to present writing that they have and be really clear with their speaking skills.
And then second grade social studies and science is really fun. We do, in social studies, we study families long ago and today. So just comparing things from today to yesterday. Shocking for some of the kids because they think that when I was a kid that I like hand washed on like a washboard. So they're relieved that they don't have to do that. We also study people, places, and the environment. So like maps and globe and continents and oceans. We also talk about goods and services, basic economics, and then change makers. So just people from today and yesterday who make a difference in the world. And then science includes Earth's landscapes, so things like landforms, and then changes to those to the Earth's surface. We do properties of matter, so attributes of different types of matter, and then what can change them, and then living things and habitats.
Some really fun things that we use, but also curriculum of science, social studies, math, and language are used to have some fun with all of that. And so, which includes art and design challenges, going on field trips. A lot of field trips are tied to science and social studies standards. And we, for VAPA, visual arts and performing arts, I know that, especially our site, but I know from a lot of teachers around the district, we have this year, we've been really enjoying their help and their expertise. Erin Kerr has brought performing arts. She has drama classes. So there's a picture up there of my class actually doing a drama class. They love it so much. It's only every other week and they want to do it all the time. And she's helping our 2 second grade classes with plays at the end of the year. I know she's helping some other teachers as well in the district. And then Christy Lindeman has helped a lot with art and making challenges. She helped us with the sewing project earlier in the year. So we're really enjoying the expertise and help with things like that. And then I know that a lot of school sites do design challenges and we do that as well. And it's just really fun to get to use all the knowledge that they're learning in the really standard subjects and get to use them in creative ways.
And then on the next 2 slides, you'll see what are the different adopted curriculums that we have in each of the subject areas, also accompanied with the learning domains that are covered in each. So for language arts, we use Benchmark, and then we are piloting UFly across the district at different sites. Miss Blummer and I have been doing UFly since the beginning of the year. It's going really well, so we're hoping for some positive outcomes with that for the school district. And then we also use iReady Math in 2nd grade. And then McGraw Inspire Science for science, which is really hands-on, super fun. Impact Social Studies, Second Step for social emotional learning. And then we also have PE requirements. We have, as Sarah was explaining, the roving VAPA supports, and then our wonderful music teachers.
And finally, these are the assessments that we use for literacy and math.
Literacy has a lot. We do them 3 times a year, each, the beginning of each trimester, or toward the end of each trimester. They mainly test for phonics and word recognition, spelling, comprehension, and fluency. If you would like any other clarity on those specific literacy assessments, feel free to ask. And then the math assessments, we have iReady unit tests, so that at the end of each math unit is like that typical paper test. And then 3 times a year, iReady has an online diagnostic that every student takes, and it helps create, using the data of the questions that they answer, it creates a specific thing for each student called My Path, and it creates lessons for them specifically for what their strengths are and areas of improvement. So if they're a little bit more advanced, they get some advanced lessons. If they need some help with certain aspects that in the classroom they're still working on, it creates lessons for them. They can work on it at home or in sometimes like free time in the classroom that we have. So that's been a really great resource.
Can I ask you a follow-up question about that?
Yeah, yes. I was like,
How did the students work on it at home? Or do you give them username and passwords, or do you send it to their families? How does that
Yeah,
happen?
so there's an app on Clever that they can access. So we give them, they have a password and username, but usually we send home a QR code and they can get on Clever with their QR code and they can do it at home.
Great.
That was the end of second
Yeah,
grade.
sorry, I have control of the slides, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
If there wasn't any other questions, we can move to third.
So I do have a question for Matt,
Sure.
before we go to third grade.
Yeah.
How would you describe how the second grade curriculum prepares third grade students for CAP testing? Or what part of second grade leads into preparing? Is it the whole curriculum in general?
I mean, in
Or
general.
is there a
it should-
specific?
It should be the whole curriculum, that should all be standards aligned, and that feeds right into the CAS, but if you're talking about how to negotiate the CAS testing. that would
I guess
be-
I'm talking about both. I didn't have that in
Yeah,
mind,
the
but you bring up
standards
a good point.
would line you right up with the CAS testing, and that's all our general curriculum would line up all to that. And then, yeah, so the iReady work that the second grade is doing, and actually all the kinder through second grade are be able to be comfortable with their Chromebook and be able to negotiate through a test.
That's a good point. Okay.
Yeah. Third grade. So I'm glad we started with this, because the third graders' personality starts to come out. We start looking at certainly building off of our whole child outlook, talking about she said the 5 C's here, I'm guessing, which is comedy, adding to one of them, which I really appreciate, because certainly I don't know if you can find another funnier human on the planet than a third grader, but moving forward, we do start to stretch in third grade, and certainly build off of the great work that our lower grades do, third grade being considered kind of the middle of or the beginning of the upper grades of an elementary school. As was mentioned, VAPA becomes a really important and dynamic subject for our third graders through Christy and Aaron's work. Some really great field trips that they're taking on. They start doing design challenges and kind of in a formal way. We pushed out Maker Madness to all the schools this year, starting in third grade. So they get to appreciate that. Moving on, then our expectations, which is generally the curriculum. The one major change is in our math program, where we go to illustrative math, which is more of a problem-solving style of math that actually fits more into the upcoming framework that was just adopted by California. Which is that Burlingame was always ahead of the game on their math curriculum, especially with illustrative math, because it does form up new frameworks. Math and problem solving and talking about your math and building up that, and that begins in third grade. The rest of the things are the same as the second grade was talking about. And again, second step for social emotional, the other, we start ukulele in third grade. And again, PE and VAPA remain the same. So the highlights, we start talking about a third grader. It does start to ramp up into the next phase of their learning, especially with their, like the second grade team said, kind of the end of phonics, although we still have phonics instruction in the upper grades. But it's more reading, it's that reading to learn instead of learning to read, is a common phrase. Certainly that happens in our third graders. We start to now really push forward. We also start a lot more speaking and listening. There are speeches that happen in classrooms. The writing becomes progressively more advanced, different subject matters, math, where again, we're talking about similar things. Everything in the standards builds on each other. So you kind of have the same standards as you go up, but it just becomes more thoughtful. So it's the same moving forward. Talk about the highlights of science and social studies. Very much the same. You start talking about a real community focus in our social studies, which the Burlingame students take to heart. There's a lot of work with cultural diversity and civic participation. We are constantly working towards making sure our students are good citizens. That work continues on in third grade for sure. Next, assessments, very much the same as we go through, but the big one at the end, CASP testing begins, as we mentioned, in third grade. So students have begun to prepare for that. And what should be happening, I believe it started happening in some schools, but it will continue on maybe to deep May. That starts to happen for our third grade. So that's a new experience as we go through it. And then, yeah, I will take any questions. Any questions on third grade, or we want to go to the end?
I have just one question.
Yeah.
I know in my own personal experience, sometimes my children were sent home with summer workbooks in between grades, and sometimes they weren't at these grades.
Summer workbooks?
And it was optional, it was
Yeah.
not required. Does that always happen across all schools in all grades?
Every school, yeah, in many multiple districts. In the past, personally, I put out websites and things like that for everyone in the past, but that's a choice. There's no.
Yeah, no, I mean, I lied to my daughter and told her Miss Garcia said she had to do it. I never told you that tonight. But it was effective that way.
Yeah. So occupational therapy.
Hi again, I'm Jessica Smith, and I work with students at Roosevelt, McKinley, and Hoover. To give you an overview of what school-based occupational therapy is, we work with students in the district from preschool all the way through 8th grade. And we assess their fine motor, visual perceptual, sensory processing, and self-care skills to determine if they're eligible for our services. We provide both direct and consultative services. So direct services support motor function as it relates to educational programming. So that can either be a pull-out service where we work with students one-on-one or in a small group outside of their classroom, or push in and work with them within their classroom. And then our consultative services support both students and their teacher and their classroom staff in ways to help access their educational program. A lot of times the consultative services focus on sensory supports that can be made in the classroom and throughout the day to help with attention and focus. We also plan and implement interventions based on IEP goals, so we're a part of the IEP team. With that, we attend annual and triennial IEP meetings. Annual IEP meetings are held once a year. Triennials every 3 years, where we reassess students to determine eligibility for services. So to be a little more specific, we focus on, can they effectively demonstrate the motor skills needed to use the materials and supplies. So for example, grasp, we focus a lot on writing, cutting, scissors, drawing, these areas. And then, as I mentioned, any sensory supports or other accommodations we need to promote alertness, attention, and self-regulation. And just the green dot, we support children and youth on their development and learning to their fullest potential at school.
Hi, I'm Mindy Lee. I work at Franklin, Washington, BIS as one of the faculties. Occupational therapists, again, we work with students who are not developmentally proficient in the following skills: developmental fine motor, so concern gross grasp, object manipulation, scissor skills, visual motor skills, including, which I already talked about, the coloring, the handwriting, skills such as letter formation, spacing, and handwriting fluency, as well as bilateral coordination. Occupational therapists can also provide the consultative services that we have touched upon,
just to help the teachers and students engage better in the classroom, and find different sensory supports, to help facilitate greater engagement and attention with their classroom participating classes. Referrals for OT to be made by an IEP team member or parent request. Often a lot of concerns are brought up by teachers as well. An assessment plan is provided for the parent to sign, and once the signed assessment is received back, we have 60 days to complete the actual testing and assessments, and to also give the IEP meeting. School-based OT is a related service, so to receive our services through an IEP, the student must be found eligible under one of the 13 special education eligibility categories. And so school-based occupational therapy is not a standalone service.
And we included this last slide because we just noted a trend in increasing requests for assessments and assessments that we're providing in all these areas, which, in addition to working with our regular caseload, that can be a time-consuming process to do a full and thorough.
I have a question, and I think it probably goes back to that last slide, but I'm wondering, I know that right now, our little TKers are the little ones that were born during the pandemic, and and then, the progressive grade levels beyond that are little ones that were preschool age during the pandemic. And are you seeing, what effects of that are you seeing, if any?
Yeah, most of the TK teachers at the schools I work with have reached out just for some, again, touching back on that sensory processing. So a lot of wiggly little boys and girls, just for to provide some different break options for them. They're like, I know they need something, but what can I do to kind of, support that focus? I mean, they're also in TK, so it's, we have to know that that's just okay to be, that's how they are. But, I provide some, different sensory ideas, centers, collaboration. And they're getting younger, right? So we're going to have more, so.
Thank you for being here, because I think OT is this amazing field that really unlocks children's potential. I just want to make sure I understood something. For the assessments you do, that's only in a referral within the IEP process, correct? Or do you do this for every kid?
No, any parent who makes a request for if the IEP team, feels that they're already established in special ed that they need in order to get that.
And at a teaching level, is that a pretty seamless transition for the accommodations you need?
Yeah.
Especially the wobble seats.
And they have a lot of tools in their tool belt of things that I didn't even think of that could really help them.
Great. Any further questions? Well, this was an informational item. We won't be voting. Thank you, Matt. Thank you all for being here on school night.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
And Matt, you're up again. Item 12B, multilingual learner strategic plan presentation.
Yes, so I'd like to call up Lauren Hoover, our field specialist, presentation of the multilingual learner strategic plan. Hold on, Lauren.
Teeth.
Go ahead. Operate the slides. Yeah. Okay, so this is a presentation on the multilingual learner plan. The Burlingame School District Multilingual Strategic Plan is a revised document that aligns with California English Learner Roadmap to provide updated guidance on legal requirements for multilingual students. It outlines procedures for placement, assessment, reclassification, and monitoring while addressing programmatic needs in staffing, professional development, parent involvement, and curricular implementation. The plan aims to ensure consistent service delivery that meets students' linguistic and academic needs with specific goals for multilingual students detailed in the district's local control accountability plan, LCAP.
So, the way that a student is identified as an English learner is, the parent, when they register, fill out the home.
Can I ask you to move the microphone a little closer? Sorry. There.
Probably in my direction.
Thank you.
So the parent fills out the home language survey, and there are 4 important questions, and if 3 of those questions are answered with a language other than English, the student is identified as TBD and is given the initial LPAC within 30 days of that notification. Only students in grades K through 8 take the initial and the summative LPAC. In previous years, TK also took it, but the state is redeveloping that program, so it's just K8 now. And the students are tested in 4 domains: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Parents are notified of the students' results within 30 days, and students are determined either IFEP, that means initial fluent English proficient, or an English learner. If they are an English learner, they receive the summative LPAC.
Okay, so our program options. This part of the plan outlines the instructional support for English learners in English learners. The program focuses on dual goals: achieving proficiency in English, which is the LPAC score of 4 in all areas, and meeting grade level academic standards. So students are classified as English learners until they meet the district's reclassification criteria, which we'll go over here in a minute. The instructional approach combines integrated and targeted English learner development. Integrated ELD is taught throughout the day, cross disciplines with California ELD standards, used alongside core content standards to support students' linguistic and academic progress. Targeted ELD is provided by classroom teachers with a specialized program available at EIS. So that's a separate class for targeted ELD, and outreach for after-school enrichment programs like Mariachi and our ELO TV program. Quality instruction includes SEDI, which is specific designed academic instruction in English techniques, creating low anxiety environments with visual aids, simplified input, vocabulary emphasis, and cooperative learning strategies. These approaches help make content understandable without lowering learning expectations for English learners. The district also offers dual language immersion program from kindergarten through 8th grade as an alternative placement option. The program aims for high academic achievement proficiency in both Spanish and English and cross-cultural understanding.
So this is the student progress monitoring slide where, again, the students take the, if they're designated an EL, they take the annual LPAC assessment, which is in the spring. Currently, we're about 70% complete, which is very exciting to me. The regular assessment of their core content and also their trimester progress reviews or report cards. There is a multi-tiered system of support, the EL specialists. We also have a bilingual aide, and we have specific growth expectations for each year, and we hope that students will be able to be reclassified to RFEP in 4 years. So this is the kind of the diagram that shows like if a student comes in kindergarten and then student A, we hope when they're level 1 or the first year that they're tested, it doesn't have to be kindergarten, that the next year the student will show some progress and move along so that they are actually reclassified by the time they're in the 4th year. This is the part of the multilingual plan that has a bit of adjustment. And so I'll just highlight for you that because I'm very excited. This is where I was going to dazzle you. I would come back. So students, in order to be RFEP, have to follow 4 criteria. The first criteria is they have to score a 4 on the LPAC exam or a 3 on the alternate assessment. I will note that the LPAC exam is very, very challenging. So anyone who can score a 4 on the summative or a 3 on the alternate really shows a lot of fluency in English language. But there are some backups just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. The teacher fills out an evaluation form saying that the student's progress in the classroom is satisfactory, and the parents are notified. And then The state has as follow criterion 4, which is the comparison of basic skills. So the students have to show that they made progress in assessments compared to English only speaking students. So this is where the little bit of change is in K-8, we would like students to show English reading fluency and comprehension at grade level or above on using any district approved assessment. Our past plan had very specific assessment, but now we are using multiple assessments. And I think that if students show growth in any of those assessments that they are performing at grade level, that's excellent. And then in 3-8, because we have past testing, if students are receive a score of approaching grade level, net grade level, or above grade level, they will meet the criteria for criteria 4. It would be really exciting for them to just to reduce some barriers and to be more inclusive in their planning.
Okay, so for professional learning, all teaching staff must hold appropriate certification to provide instruction to English learners. The district outlines specific credential requirements for different types of instruction, including English language development, these specifically designed academic instruction in English, SEDI, and primary language instruction. Teachers must have credentials with appropriate authorizations such as CLAD or BCLAD or equivalent certifications. Hiring and placement decisions are based on student and program needs. Professional learning is designed to have a lasting impact on classroom instruction. Training topics include district policies and procedures, ELD standards, implementation, English language proficiency assessment, LPAC, instructional strategies for multilingual students and parent involvement. In fact, Laura and I were just talking about a PD that we'll probably do in the upcoming year to help make sure that all of our teachers understand what's going on in the LPAC, and especially some of the students in STC classrooms, teachers there knowing the kind of things that they should be talking about in IEPs because they're not talking about them and they're not putting in proper accommodations into the LPAC testing. So Laura's going to talk about that. So there's something that's ongoing. Yeah. Oh, me too. So parent and community engagement. The Burlingame School District emphasized the importance of parent engagement in supporting English learners' academic success. The district provides translation and interpretation services to facilitate communication with parents, including spoken translation with outside translators, written translations, and translation software. In response to a January 2025 ruling, schools with 21 or more English learner students must establish an ELAC or English Learner Advisory Committees. These committees are designed to advise school officials on programs and services for English learners. ELAC responsibilities include assisting with school-wide needs assessments, promoting regular school attendance, and advising on site plans for English learners. At the district level, the District English Learner Advisory Committee, the DLAC, consists of representatives from the DLAC, with parents of English learners forming the majority of membership. DLAC responsibilities must include developing the district's multilingual strategic plan, conducting district-wide needs assessment, establishing program goals, and ensuring teacher requirement compliance, and reviewing reclassification procedures and parent notifications. The district provides appropriate training and materials to help DLAC members.
So for this meeting.
Yes,
so for the student outcome goals for the program evaluation, we test the students every year and we hope that there's progress with their LPAC exams. We also check for progress in with testing comparable to other English only students. And 100% of entering kinder cohorts of multilingual students demonstrate overall performance level 4 by the end of 5th grade. So that was the diagram that shows the progression. And then once a student is RFF or reclassified, they are monitored for 4 years. And that's probably my job. The implementation goals are effective instruction, of course, sufficient professional development, and adequate resources and support.
Okay, funding. The Burlingame School District utilizes multiple funding sources to support its multilingual programs. The core instructional program is fully funded through district general funds. covering essential components such as teachers, instructional assistants, materials, and professional development. Title III federal funds provide supplemental support specifically designed to help multilingual students achieve English proficiency and meet state academic standards. These funds cannot replace regular educational program funding, but instead enhance the standard multilingual program. So for example, employer here is we're using Title III funds to increase her role in the district and help with help with these reclassification. The district maintains communication with private schools within the LEA boundaries, with the Department of Education's services annually informing those schools about available Title III services.
And that concludes our presentation. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions? All right, this is a voting item. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Katie. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tanya. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Laura.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura.
Okay, item 13A, Business and Finance, the 333 committee presentation.
Thank you. So this evening, we have Mr. Richard Chironis from DTA, our bond program manager, and Ms. Nicole. The recreation manager from the Burlingame City Parks and Rec Department, and Mr. Omar Escobar, coordinator of maintenance and operations and grounds. They will be presenting information about the 333 committee.
If you have any questions, I'm turning to you guys. I'm just a mouthpiece this evening. Good evening. Thank you, trustees. Appreciate the time. We're here to present to you information on the 333, or in this case, the 332 committee. The committee is a joint committee of the city and the district. Our charter, if you will, is born out of the city district joint use agreement for the use of facilities, and which specifically states that the city and the district will form a committee, and it's described as a 332, and we keep calling it a 333. It specifically says that you'll have 3 city members, 3 district members, and at least 2 community members. But we call it a 333 because we can have 3 community-wide or community members. So we meet on a quarterly basis at the rec department. The representatives are from, oh, I guess I should use this. The representatives are from the Parks and Recs department, Nicole, Kevin, and one of Nicole's coordinators, depending from either enrichment or sports, depending on what the agenda or the topics are for the given meeting. From the district, it's CBO Dela Cruz, Omar, and Principal Lamb from BIS, and the community-wide members are myself and Teresa Curtis, a Washington and BIS parent. She's also a member of the Parks and Rec Commission. She serves on that commission, so she would have been here tonight also presenting, but she hasn't actually issued that account right now. So those are the community members. The first purpose of the committee here, as you see, is basically to coordinate on programs, enrichment and sports programs, and any issues that come up in regards to the use of facilities or communication on programs, coordination of programs, etc., that are born out of the common constituency between the city and the district. And so our work includes, like I said, the quarterly meetings in which we discuss those issues as they arise, communication out to the community. We also put out, the Parks and Rec puts out a survey, an annual survey to the community on programs, both enrichment and sports and facilities. And unfortunately, our assessment of the survey this past year was not great. We didn't get great responses. And so we're talking about ways to try to do that again and get better responses, for the coming year. So again, our work is to strengthen the partnership on the use of facilities and the coordination of programs. In terms of enrichment, there are at least 2 after-school classes at each one of the schools, and I have the list here. It's a little hard to read, but, you help me out. It's a list there. Nicole sent me this. It's actually pretty fun because it gives you the programs at each one of the elementary. You may already know this or have this information, but I thought it was great because it describes the program. Spanish for beginners at Franklin, fall cooking, junior chef stars, moving and grooving, mad science, creative corner, Hollywood filmmaking. Anyway, introduction to jewelry, you know, just an abundance of pretty fun sounding programs makes me wish I was an elementary school kid again. So in terms of the enrichment, the city staff works with the PTAs and the school administration to determine which classes will get offered at each one of the schools. The city is partnered with the district to offer more opportunity for students to attend through the ELOP program. In terms of the elementary school sports, the Parks and Rec department provides the coaches, the scheduling, the equipment, etc. And obviously the school district provides the facilities. I believe it. The elementary school sports include flag football, volleyball, the running club, and in the winter, there's basketball, which is, of course, is the best sport in the world. My thought. At the middle schools, again, the Parks Department provides the coaches, the officials, the scheduling, the scorekeepers, etc. And the district obviously provides the facilities. The sports at the middle school level are flag football, volleyball, cross country, and in the winter there's the basketball, and in spring there's track and field, golf, and badminton. So in terms of the outreach to the school community, it's done through the Peach Jar software that the district and the city use to reach out, get input. There's the community survey, as I mentioned. There's the city staff attending PTA meetings to coordinate and get feedback on programs, input on programs, etc. And then attending community events, city staff. So again, the city communication is through the city website, emails and newsletters through all of the schools, A-frames in front of the schools for upcoming programs, and then of course word of mouth. It's always one of the best resources in terms of parents communicating to one another and getting word out regarding some of the better programs that are offered. This was a fun one. There was last November there was a pep rally that we had here at BIS. And it was really great. All schools attended. We had the mascots there from all of the schools. It was just to not just promote the program, but just increase school spirit, to celebrate the students, celebrate the activities, and just do a little bit of cheerleading for the various different programs. We're happy to say that all the schools now have updated mascots. So the Franklin Falcon is no longer a bald eagle, for example. The McKinley Bulldog now actually fits the mascot wearer. I mean, it's a real bulldog. Anyway, so yeah, the mascots were there. So just a fun event. And now are we still working to do one for spring? Okay. Okay, so future agendas on our slate is to redo the community survey, coordinate the spring pep rally, then continue the smooth coordination and transitioning. As we have construction that is ongoing throughout the district with the bond program, one of our critical roles is also to continue with the communication. I have to applaud Jen Baker from the business department with her efforts to help coordinate the use of facilities and blocking out what needs to get done for summer construction, for example, because that's such an intense period on the bond program side. So again, that critical factor is timely communication on the use of facilities is one of our charters. So that's pretty much it. Anything else? Am I missing anything? No? Great. You won't talk about it. Sorry. Okay, that was it. Questions, comments, criticisms?
I just have one comment, which is that I wonder if I know PTAs were mentioned several times. I wonder if there's conversations that happen at the PTA council level, because it certainly seems like that could be another avenue to get input from like the PTA and parent lens.
Yeah, any meeting you want us to go, we'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That
I don't
might
know
be-
the answer to that, but
Yeah, that might be an option.
Okay.
yeah, that's great.
I have two comments for you to consider your deliberations in your meeting. One is, my experience has been historically, the enrollment opens up at 8 a.m. for a lot of these classes on a weekday. And that's oftentimes the worst part of the day for parents. 8 a.m. is where you're trying to get 1 to 3 kids out the door, perhaps get yourself ready. And sometimes enrollment's already full by 8:04, 8:05. So it's really challenging sometimes for parents to actually log online at 8 a.m. and sign up for these classes. So perhaps consider an evening enrollment might be beneficial. Another challenge I've heard from some parents is sometimes, unfortunately, the classes are canceled, which happens logistically, but they don't know about till closer in time to the cancellation, sometimes the first day, thus missing out on opportunities to cross enroll somewhere else. So perhaps there's a way to speed up that process, but I understand there's logistic complications.
Yeah, by
there.
policy, we try to cancel them like a week before. We try everything, email blast,
Yeah.
to push it to keep it open, but I apologize if it was one day ahead of time, but.
No, I mean, it's challenging to
Yeah.
tough finding the teachers. I mean, it's a big challenge. And
Students.
overall, the feedback I hear is these are wonderful programs and everyone's thrilled. But the 8 a.m. sign up can be very challenging for a lot of parents.
It seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, Nicole, but the biggest hurdle for program is enrollment, right? It's not finding coaches and teachers, it's getting enough students, enough people enrolled to make sure that the program.
Yeah, we don't offer programs if we don't have the contractors. It's just getting the students. And that's why we work really hard with each schools, because what worked at one school may not work at another school.
I hear parents are thrilled overwhelmingly with these
Yeah.
programs.
All right, from an education perspective, I have a question, Nicole.
Oh,
I see some classes on here that we do parent ed around like concerns with chats, like adult chats in like, for instance, well, I don't want to name any names, but adults can chat to students on them and stuff. So I'm just curious, like, do you do comments around protections through technology? If you're doing some tech classes on here, what protections are you
so
doing
we
with
use-
training around it too?
We use the school district's Wi-Fi, but I
No.
thought had protections.
Well, but you're doing some coding some classes on here that allow like chats and stuff. So I guess I'm just curious, like, is there any, when you're doing that, do you have any embedded in your contracts or anything about, like, we use Common Sense Media or like smart schools, so we have.
Yeah, I
tech-
don't know the answer to that. I can find out and get back.
Cause that'd be great to be able
Yeah.
to make sure.
If
Our
they
address,
are
don't give out your
chats-
information, right? Cause
Yeah.
there's a lot of classes in here. It'd be nice to have that educational.
Correct, yeah, if there are classes that are doing chats, that's not.
Not even chats,
familiar,
but just making sure they're teaching
Yeah,
that
that's good
side.
to know.
Internet safety is like an
but
important.
essential, yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
There are further questions or comments? All right.
So
Thank you all.
just for information, we will be making the same presentation to the Parks and Rec Commission on Thursday.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about that meeting, but.
It's a big one.
Yeah. Have fun.
Thank you.
It's more subdued here, so you're
It
welcome to
really
stay.
is. Like I say.
But thank you, this is a non-voting item, informational only. So thank you all for being here.
You're welcome.
Move on to 13. E, strength administration office renovation. This is a voting item.
Mr. Thomas will go over the results from the Franklin Administration Office renovation project.
Thank you. So this project is to renovate the main office at Franklin Elementary School. It includes relocating the entry forward of the breezeway doors. It includes renovation of the front administration reception workstation, relocating the conference room so we can enlarge the staff room. So we work closely with Jude and with Stephanie and the architects on the project, put the project out to bid. It is still being processed. But we did receive 2 bids for the project. One from Beals Martin, which was the lowest responsive bid for the $1.688 million base cost. And then the other, I apologize, I don't think we included the bid tabulation in your board exhibits like we did some the other projects. But the second bid that we received was from Rodan Builders, another pre-qualified contractor in the district, and their bid was for $1.739 million. So fairly close to the lowest bid. But the low bid from Beals Martin Incorporated out of Redwood City is a pre-qualified contractor that we worked with in the past, has done work here in the district. In fact, they were the ones that did this building that we're sitting in years ago. They've done other modernizations in the district, et cetera. So their base bid was for $1.688 million, and our estimate for the project was $1.7 million, so it's just slightly under our original estimate. But with the 10% contingency that we're recommending for unforeseen conditions, that would bring the total contract to $1.857 million. But with an additive alternate that we're also recommending accepting for $31,974 to paint and recarpet the adjacent library space at admin, at the Franklin's admin building. The reason we want to do that is because, for one thing, we're going to be temporarily relocating the main office into the library. So we need to build some temporary construction in the library to accommodate Jude and her staff. And so then when the project is done, we want to be able to recarpet and paint and sort of paint our way out of that building and call it done essentially for the time being. So that would bring the total contract to $1,889,539. And we're recommending accepting that and directing the superintendent to sign the contract with the contractor once we have the DSA approval.
Are there any questions? Then I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Doug, with the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Are you up for the next one too? 13C, BIS and Hoover drainage improvement.
So these 2 projects, as it explains, is to drainage improvements. One is at Hoover Elementary School. It's in the area, if you've been there, there's a large, what originally was a ball wall that's on the access roadway that's behind on the backside of the school building. That area now is where all the lunch tables are. And if you've been up there, you've seen some of the efflorescence and drainage issues that are coming through and around that building. And what Omar has been experiencing in his team is drainage, landsliding that has been coming around that wall. We investigated some time back and found that there was no drainage up behind on the uphill side of the top of that wall. So what we worked through with the civil engineers to add drainage that would then take the water away from the back of that wall and drain it out and channel it into the storm drain at the foot of the wall. That's the project at Hoover Elementary School. The project here was to add drainage out on the hillside area that's above the hard courts, just out on the backside of Building 10 here at BIS. It's in the area, if you've been out there, you've seen the mudsliding that's coming down onto the blacktop area that's underneath the shade structure that was put in a few years ago, and just keeps creating a continual mess. Omar has taken some steps with the landscape crew to try to mitigate the soil that's sliding down onto the blacktop, but it's not working. We need to get drainage in there. And so the civil engineer designed a solution for us. We put that out to bid, and we're recommending accepting the lowest responsive bid from Guerra Construction, a contractor that we've worked with in the past. They do a lot of site improvement work, playground work. In fact, they were the installing contractor for some of the play equipment that has been installed at some of the school sites. They're a contractor that our civil engineer has worked with in the past to good success. So for this project, we had a base bid of $342,100 and an estimate of $340,000. So we're right within the range of the estimate. But with the 10% contingency, we're recommending awarding a contract of $376,310 for the two school sites combined. Yeah.
Are there any questions on this item? Yes.
Some of the bid results for one of these were quite a bit different than the other ones. Is there just a short explanation of what the bid result, like why they were so different?
You mean the range of the different numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's oftentimes hard to explain other, because all we have is their bids, their numbers. We don't have a breakdown of their costs. It could be anything from a clerical error to just a contractor that is interested in the project but not hugely interested in the project. So they might throw a number in that if they get the project, great. If they don't, you know, they may not be as interested, so they don't sharpen their pencils. So that may be what drives some of the prices, their prices higher. So what we were grateful for was just the fact that we did get a large number of bids. We got interest in the project, as you saw in the one previous one, we received 2 bids. And we actually had, I believe, 7 contractors at the bid block when we introduced the project, but only 2 decided to bid. In this case, we had the 5 that decided to bid, but we had a large range. You know, one explanation I might have is that one of the contractors that was at the high range, up at over $1 million, is a general building contractor working in development and construction. They do a lot of work, have done a lot of work in the district. They're currently working at McKinley Elementary School building the TK building. They're a general building contractor. They do have an A license, so they can do site work. But maybe it's not their forte, perhaps. And so some of these other site contractors who are set up to do, this is more in their wheelhouse, they're able to get their numbers a little bit tighter. That may be another.
Any further questions? I will make a motion to approve this item. Is there a second?
One second.
Thank you, Tanya. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Move on to 13D, DIS donors Plaza bid results.
Okay, so for this project, if you may recall, the board directed us to proceed with the landscaping and donor plaza improvements out at the front here at BIS. This is in front of the auditorium area. We split the scope into 2 different projects. One is the donor plaza specifically, which is what we're asking you to award this evening. The other is the rest of the landscaping in front of the auditorium area that is currently out to bid now. We're going to be bringing that bid to you later. We split the 2 projects out mainly because we needed more time to sort out the details for the landscape area in front of the auditorium because of the work that's going on with the new generator enclosure that's going to happen as part of the BIS Building 1 project and the bicycle enclosure that is also still slated to happen. We needed the landscape architect to work out some of those details. So we split out the donor plaza so that we can move forward with this scope. So put that out to bid, and we received the 2 bids that you see before you, one from CF Contracting for $131,700 and the other from Rodan Builders for $197,500. So here we had an estimate for this portion of that work of $110,000. Because we had an estimate of $110,000, and because the donor plaza is somewhat what I would call discretionary, you know, it's a discretionary project. So we felt obliged to revisit the scope with the lowest responsive bidder and see if there was some way to value engineer the project and bring down that cost. We were able to quickly and easily identify with the landscape contractor, Calendar Associates, the elimination of some of the large boulders in the landscape area because that was part of the landscape palette, if you will, that would be adjacent to the plaza. Eliminating those boulders were not critical to the operation of the plaza itself that BC is really looking for. So it was a fairly simple solution to at least knock off an easy $6,000 from the bid and bring that down to a revised base bid of $125,700 with a 10% contingency, bringing a revised total bid to $138,270. So still a bit over bid. I believe that the primary reason that the project is probably over our estimate is the small project premium. You get projects that are down this small, and contractors, with every subcontractor that they have to include, it just incrementally adds up, and our estimate may not have caught up with how much this small project premium was there. Cost us a little bit over the estimate. So we're recommending awarding this project for the revised total bid of $138,270.
Are there any questions on this one? I will make a motion to approve this bid as accepted. Thank you, Katie, for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Thank you.
Kinley.
Okay, and this last one that we have for you this evening is a fun project, an exciting project that we've been anticipating at McKinley for some time. As you may or may not recall, we started this project some time ago, or began anticipating this project some time ago, but we delayed it in order to focus on some of the other work that needed to happen at McKinley, the new TK project, getting that underway, the interior modernization that was recently completed, the climate tech work for the HVAC and the solar project out on the playground. So with the intense work that we were doing at McKinley, we pushed this project to this summer as opposed to last summer. So at any rate, we're excited to bring before you two bids, the lowest responsive bid from Frontline Engineering and Construction for a base cost of $640,642 versus our engineering estimate that was at $500,000. So again, slightly over the estimate. Again, I believe it's primarily due not only to the small project premium that I was describing a second ago, but I think this project may be somewhat affected by some of the tariffs that we're seeing as well. We are hearing, of course, as we're all hearing, that steel, aluminum, and lumber prices are going to be affected. Some of the effects may not have already taken place, but I'm hearing that some of the contractors are nervous about them taking place while they're in the midst of trying to procure their materials for forthcoming projects. So that may have elevated some of the bids that we're receiving and going to be receiving. So at any rate, we're recommending accepting the base bid of $640,000 with a contingency of $64,000 for a total bid of $704,706.36, and awarding, or excuse me, accepting the bid and directing the superintendent to sign the contract once we have the DSA approval on these documents, which is forthcoming. We have the final comments and we've submitted the responses, or the landscape architect has submitted the responses, and so we anticipate the DSA approval shortly.
Are there any questions?
I have a comment on this one. Just given everything at McKinley, all the construction that is currently happening at McKinley, I would love, and I know there's only so much that's within any of our control, but I would love to see how fast we can get this done. Right, so that, I just feel like and I know we may go, it sounds like we may go into next year a little bit, but the sooner we can get it done, especially considering the impact on the south yard on the play space, and knowing that this will now impact the north yard play space at McKinley, I would just love to keep that fire burning as much as we can with these folks to really make sure this is happening in a timely way.
Sure. Yeah, good point. We will definitely work with Frontline on that. We have not worked with Frontline Engineering. I believe Calendar Associates has worked with them, or currently working with them on another project, and they say that that's going well. So we'll, as soon as assuming you vote to award, then we will begin the preliminary coordination for the project, and any procurement that they can do ahead of time, they can go ahead with that even before we get June.
Any further questions or comments? I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Thank you, Nicole. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Richard.
Great, thank you.
Marie, are you presenting the next item?
Yes.
Okay, we're moving on to 13F, the contract between Burlingame School District and Sodexo for food service management services 2025 through 2026.
Thank you. Yes, this is a renewal for food service management services from Sodexo. Their current contract ends June 30th of 2025, so this will extend their contract for about 1 year, from July 2025 to June 30th, 2026. The maximum contract amount is $2,154,712. The contract has been reviewed and approved by CEE as well, so we're recommending approval to review the contract with Sodexo.
I have a question. Could either you or Marla just discuss broadly the feedback you've received from the community about Sodexo before we extend their contract? About how this how the first years went?
It's been very positive. They've been very supportive in all the different programs and any requests that we've asked and the adjustments. They've been very open and been very good to work with.
The feedback that I have received, well, people are very pleased that they are, I believe, doing, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like 65, 70%. What are you up to scratch right now? 70% scratch at the moment. Our families that were celebrating Ramadan were very pleased with the meals that they had, that they were given during fasting time. Our families that are currently kosher for Passover, we are the only district that I'm aware of in San Mateo County that's honoring that Sodexo is taking the lead on. Families are very pleased with the fruit and vegetables, the quality of meals. So people have been very happy. The kids, the pizza, I mean, I think some of your kids are eating it. Kids are very excited about the pizza on Fridays, as you all spoke to. But just the different things that I've seen when I tour the schools, I've seen jicama. I've seen kids eating jicama. Not just seeing jicama, I should say that. But I've seen a lot of different items out and about. So I think that that's very exciting. I'm not seeing a lot of prepackaged muffins and things for breakfast, which is exciting. And I am very pleased to say that CBO De La Cruz also leveraged and used our kit funds, which is another source of funding that we had, and purchased a second truck for Sodexo so that we could also start to bring hot breakfast to the sites. So we're really excited to see what all that entails too.
How is the relationship working with respect to responding to every once in a while a complaint or change ups we throw at them or mistakes that happen?
I think that they've been wonderful personally. I mean, I know that even with the kosher for Passover request, it was a pivot very quickly in that thought process, and they were very responsive. So I think that they have been, for us, have been wonderful. I've had no concerns. Dwayne's very much on his email, as is the regional, I don't know if it's regional Chad. I don't know, Marie, if you have any other feedback. Our principals are very happy because they got to keep their staff, which was wonderful because they're part of our embedded community too.
Yes, that's true. Very responsive, and any concerns that we've ever expressed to them is always very positive. We meet with them weekly. We have weekly check-ins. The principals had some concerns about breakfast, and they quickly fixed and did what they needed to do to make sure that all of our customers are happy.
And it also appears with your monthly nutrition reports that the finances have worked out roughly within projection in terms of reimbursements and costs and everything. I know that's impossible to be 100%.
Yes, we
roughly
are
correct.
now running in the black. And,
Great. I don't have any further questions. Any other questions or comments? Someone like to make, is recommended we approve this contract for 25-26. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll move to approve the contract.
All right, thank you, Doug. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tanya. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to 13G, bond audit reports.
So we're presenting our bond audit reports for measures M and O. The 23-24 audit had no findings. We do have ending fund balances in measure O of 27 million. And then also in measure M, 13.9 million. Pretty straightforward. There was no, again, no findings.
Are there any questions or comments? Someone like to make a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Katie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tanya. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay, we have a resolution for establishing the retirement benefit funds, 13H.
Yes, so this resolution is related to the authorization that the board adopted in April of 2022. We opened an irrevocable trust with the CalPERS program and deposited an initial $1 million for our other post-employment benefits. We have net liability of about 8 to 9 million. And what this does is it establishes that Fund 31 for retiree benefits, so you will see it in the SACS report, and we will keep it updated with the balances, beginning and ending balances and any activities related to the retirement fund. So we're recommending approval. Right now we have a balance of 1.2 million. So it's already increased 233,000 since the initial deposit. And we have access to the online statements and we get quarterly reports from the SERV program. And we're recommending approval of the resolution.
Are there any questions?
Just to, I think I know the answer, but just to clarify, we're not moving any money. We're just giving the account a formal designation as Fund 71. We're not making any changes to the how those funds are set aside, correct?
So we are using the Fund 71 to properly report it and make sure that it's part of all of our financial reports.
Got it. Thank you.
Did you have a second question?
No, I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Aye.
Right, motion passes 5-0. You, right, we're moving on to administration and 14A, resolution, employee appreciation week.
Okay. I am excited to be bringing forward the Safe Green Employee Appreciation Week, which Burlingame School District will celebrate the first week of May, from May 5th through May 9th. Historically, the Burlingame School District has brought forward Teacher Appreciation Week, which was not an inclusive language component. And then we would bring forward Classified Appreciation Week at a different time. However, that we have many certificated individuals within our district that are not teachers. This year, we have decided to bring it forward as Employee Appreciation Week, which encompasses all employees of the Burlingame School District, also known as Burlingame Blue. So we are bringing forward for approval tonight, Employee Appreciation Week, which will be anybody that is employed by the Burlingame School District.
I think that's a wonderful idea, the way you put that all together.
Yeah.
Are there any questions about this before we vote? Everyone's had a chance to review and read it. Someone like to make a motion to approve the Employee Appreciation Week resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Tanya. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Katie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. I see you there, Nicole. You gotta get the
I
mic
know,
before. The hand motion.
Step on giants.
I need that verbal, All right, we're going on to board bylaws, 14B.
Great. Board bylaw 9320 was revised in January of 2024. However, I am bringing it forward this evening with the request or thought to relook at it. Our start time is currently 6 p.m. However, we have moved closed session to the end of our board meeting. So the request is to look at having our start time begin at 5:30 instead of 6 to allow us to get out of here half an hour earlier at the end of the night.
And so with this, the idea is, just so we're clear, we would all need to be here ready to go at 5:30. We'd start with Pledge of Allegiance, move right on to our presentations. And then closed session at the end. Ideally, employees that present get home a half hour early. These long-suffering employees get home a half hour early as well, assuming we don't talk to them.
So actually, sorry, our start time would, from 7 to 6. Changes our term from 7 to 6, it says. So we would go from 6 to 5:30. Yeah, that's right.
So basically, you have to make sure you're always here at 5:30 if we do this. Which is historically, we did that and went straight to closed session.
Right.
So now it's just straight to open session, we'll close to the end. And also, it's a little more efficient. I'm in favor of this, open to other ideas as
That
well.
makes sense to me.
This makes sense.
Sounds good? All right, someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Thank you, trustee Gustavo. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tanya. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, and the fun one. We are bringing forward all of our board policy manual tonight, which encompasses all of the large policies that for our second read, series 1,000 through 6,000 for the second policy read.
These are the same policies that we discussed last time.
Correct.
Any challenges incorporating the feedback or edits or suggestions from the board?
We did not have any challenges on that. We were clear with all of them, except for one.
There are a couple
The
of blanks.
one where we needed the grades for AR 1321.
Yeah. Can you?
For solicitation.
Yeah, solicitation is the one. There's a question as to whether or not we want to have that at all going forward or just completely pull it out.
Could you please re-summarize that issue?
There was a question, there's been 2 questions on that. The first one was, do we want the grades? Students in grades shall cells, or should we put the grades in? And then there was also a question about, do we need that one at all? CBO De La Cruz, that I believe was a question that you were looking at too. Trying to pull it really quickly because I believe you researched it. Sorry, can you grab that one? It's not, this is not actually a mandatory policy. We can remove it completely should the board wish to not have any specific information out there. The board can also take action to have specific information if we want. Was the answer that you found from your research yesterday, correct?
Yes, on the.
On the
Door to
policy
door.
about door to door,
Door to
yes,
door.
right, okay. I was just making sure that I have your information correct. Okay, I didn't want to misquote you. So, CBO De La Cruz looked into this as to whether or not we need this at all. So we can either go forward with specific, this is what our board believes and supports and give direction to our students in our community, or we can completely remove this, in totality.
I would be in favor of removing it. I mean, I have some question about whether we even have control or jurisdiction over what kids do after school, so I don't see why we need that policy.
I agree with that.
As do I.
Okay. So what I'm hearing then is that, going for the second read for final, approving all of them except for removal of AR and Regulation 1312, solicitation of funds from and by students would be the request.
That's correct with my understanding, yes. Everyone agree with that?
Yes, I think it's AR 1321, right?
AR 1321.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay.
There's
Thank
a
you.
BP as well.
With respect to any of the other board bylaws or that one, does anyone have any other questions or comments, concerns, ideas? We're free to kick this out again if we're not ready to move forward, so please don't feel pressured. Otherwise, we can, sounds like we're moving towards voting to approve. Anyone have anything further they'd like to add?
I just want to clarify, so this, for this, not to belabor the point, but the 1321, because there is a board policy that is separate, that doesn't go into the logistics of door-to-door solicitation. And I don't think we need to pull that. We're just proposing to pull the AR, is that correct?
It's up to you if you want to pull both. So the
Right, but the proposal on the table is, I guess that's the question, what is the proposal on the table? Because the board policy as listed doesn't have anything specific that would kind of govern any of that when we get to it.
Let us pull it and share real quick.
Sure, take a moment, don't worry.
What did you say?
Page 59.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Further down.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's in
so you're questioning about keeping the policy potentially, but not the AR, is that correct?
That's the question, yes.
CJ?
Yeah, I was understanding we were taking them both out, but if we don't. If
Yeah.
CSBA did not advise us that this is a required policy. That
So, yeah, no policy, I mean,
Yeah, I don't think the policy talks about the door to door, so the policy is about solicitation.
on school grounds.
Yes. I think it's more the AR where it talks about going door to door.
So typically, so a board policy is kind of the, standing understanding, and the regulations are what we do to enforce it. Regulations actually don't even have to be board approved. These are just kind of like what we do to enforce it. So this is an easy, well, yeah, exactly. But even when you read the only component that does say ed code, when you look at it, it says, solicit students on school grounds during school hours within 1 hour before school is open. It's really about, when I read that, Marie, it's about school grounds. So I think when you spoke to them, they said that it was okay to pull it, correct?
Yes.
So I believe both of them, we believe both of them are okay. To answer your questions.
Do you have further questions or concerns about this issue? We're free to continue talking about it.
I mean, I'm feeling for sure this AR needs to go. I don't feel strongly one way or another about the policy 1321.
My understanding, Doug, what you said was to pull both, but I'm
No,
open to
that's,
other
I
interpretations.
don't feel strongly about it, so if you prefer to have the policy and not the AR, I'm good with that too.
So the policy would say that the AR would go. Is that correct understanding? Or do I have that reversed?
That's correct.
That's right.
That's
Okay. So my understanding then, what we have consensus for is we'll adopt globally 1321 AR will also remain. 1321 board policy will be removed entirely. Is that correct?
We say that again?
Or did I reverse it?
I think you reversed it.
Let me clarify, thank you. So 1321 AR will go. 1321 board policy will stay. Everything else in here globally we will approve as well. Is that correct? Correct.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Well, with that understanding, I will make the motion to approve it as stated. Is there a second? Thank you, Nicole. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Please let us know if you have any questions about
Okay,
that.
thank you.
All right, we are on to item 15, statement of board members. Start on this side first, give Nicole a break. Trustee Brown. Spontaneous board statement right there.
No, I don't have anything to, thank you.
Yes, I don't have anything to report.
I just have one statement. I attended the safety committee meeting earlier. I'm looking forward to the rollout of Raptor and where we can use that in the rest of district operations. It seems like it's going to be pretty good for how things are working.
What about those wonderful tours we went on? Was that before the last meeting? Was that the last meeting? I don't remember. I think it was the last.
It was nice.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
Nicole.
I attended the BCE soiree, had a wonderful time. I attended my first Jedi meeting, and I think we got a great start. And yesterday and today visited McKinley, Lincoln, Franklin, and Washington. And now I'm trying to keep them all straight in my head. But I learned some really wonderful things, and I got to make some elephant toothpaste at Franklin Science Expo, which was wonderful.
Great job. Right, thank you all. I don't have anything further to report other than I think I'm doing whatever presidential duties Marlon Pearson. All right, so we will now move on to item 16, public comments to non-related or public state. Welcome, sir. We have one comment here.
Two comments I want to touch on. So the first, as you know, Burlingame doesn't teach geometry. And so I wanted to bring, so among our students, two of the most popular programs that are available, because additionally San Mateo Community College no longer offers geometry to middle school students either now, is one, the BYU program is very popular. And two, the second very popular is this program called the UC Scout. And they're both fully accredited. They're have a plethora of resources, both for students and that are excelling and students that struggle through the coursework. The problem is that the BYU course costs $400 if you take it on your own, and this one costs $800. And so the only students in our districts that get a chance are the ones that are coming from families that are willing to work over that money to do it. Now, the interesting thing about the UC Scout program, though, is if a school district sponsors it, it's free for the school district. And they can offer it. We could offer geometry free. So that's why I brought that today, because it's a path that we could offer more math with minimal cost to our district. So then a second comment, a different topic, unrelated to this, that I want to mention is on July 1st, there's a change to the California law on something called attendance recovery. And we've talked a lot about ADA, but I haven't heard much said about this law change. And we know about independent study if you miss school. Under California law, present law, a school district can also run school on Saturdays to earn back your ADA. But that law is changing on July 1st. And school districts can offer class time before school or after school, and thereby recover ADA. And I think you should push on the district officials to lean in on this. I think we could do a lot if we did, 30 minutes before school, because it's essentially paid for, right? We could do extra learning. It's essentially paid for because we're getting ADA back. And it's on a school day, so we could probably, like say we're doing it for a first grade class at Franklin at 8 in the morning. We could probably get BIS students helping. And the rules are you have to have a certificated teacher, 20, if it's more, a different ratio for a TK, but 20 students and 1 teacher for this recovery time. And once a student gets 4 hours work, they get an ADA back. So I think it's something we should push a little, knock the glass a little bit and push on district officials to say what's possible and could this and what could we do both. We could have student mentors, we could do all sorts of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McLaughlin. We're on to item 17, board requested items. Understanding, Marla, please correct me if I'm wrong, we have one outstanding item, cell phone policies, and I know you, for the county and the coordination going on. I don't believe we have another item, but can you update us on that phone policy and your latest thoughts on that? We originally had an idea of presenting this in the spring, which is running out.
Correct. So the law doesn't go into effect until July of 20, we have to have it in place before the 26-27 school year. So it's a lot of, right now, we actually, Deputy Escatena and I were just speaking about it because we have to do a survey to our educational partners, our families. And it's not just cell phones, it's devices. So it's even bigger, defining devices. We have, both of us have joined a work group with the county and met with them to start the conversation and to see what everybody's already doing, what's working, what's not working, what people have tried and successfully not had work. We've met Dawn, obviously coming from San Mateo Union High School District, and being a partner with Smushed and VHS with Dr. Fong. So we're kind of aligning a little bit what VHS is doing because they've had some success there. We were talking yesterday, he had the idea of taking a group of us up to VHS and touring because they have a working and successful current device policy. So looking at that, it does just currently have cell phones in it. So, and then also incorporating our new tech agreements and tech policy in there too. So it's in motion, but there are a lot of moving parts. So the idea of doing it by the spring is, I guess, the law, what the rollout and all of the components, it's not gonna be this spring. So, but it's coming.
Okay, what is the reasonable expectation of when it can be presented to the board?
Spring of 26.
I think we wanna, one of the rules, we're supposed to engage all community members, and so that's gonna take a survey, it'll take a team, looking at the results, making recommendations. That same ad hoc team probably would go visit like Burlingame, so that we could see some continuity of rules and expectations K through 12. And that'll take some time. Mind you, the high school was done in 5 weeks. So see it at the end of the year. But the survey results will need some analysis. And so the feedback will and that involves getting student feedback, that involves getting parent feedback and then staff feedback.
Okay, so when, and maybe it's just me, I'm just not clear why we couldn't start with the survey.
It's not about starting, I think bringing a plan forward.
I see.
Yeah, that's it, realistically bringing a plan forward, I think is what we're saying. Survey can start.
We can do a survey before the end of the year.
Absolutely.
But then we would look at the fall as pulling a group together, looking and analyzing the results and then determining sort of maybe some expectations around what it would look like and maybe a proposal by the spring.
Okay. How does the board feel about that? I know this is, I mean, it was a different board that requested it before the last election. So people are free to feel differently and whatnot. It is something I hear a lot about in the community with respect to watches and cell phones. Watches more so at the elementary school than cell phones, middle school. We're okay with kicking this out into the next school year is the question.
I'd like to, I mean, is it the rules that are requiring such a comprehensive set of data to be gathered with feedback and everything? Like there's.
It's sort of, we would need to have something in place for parents signing off on parents' rights and responsibilities before school starts. If we were gonna enforce something that maybe is not in expectations unless we change board policy, mid-year.
There's a current law in the books that says we have to go through a pretty in-depth process, and that's why they're telling us that we don't have to have it in place until the 26-27 school year. Because there's multiple steps that we have to take with our educational partners to be able to ensure that we've met with many different groups, including our bargaining partners, to be able to put all of our board policy, our discipline policies, all of that in place to be successful through it.
So what you're saying is we can't just say, come back next month with the cell phone policy and vote on that would not.
I can tell you that there's no way that we will have a comprehensive policy that we will be able to give you in the next 3 board meetings. Right.
And to clarify, our current practice anyway is no cell phones use on campus during the school day, correct?
Correct. Instructional bell to instructional bell, they are in your backpack. That is our current practice at all of our sites.
Does that include, that does not include watches though?
Correct. That does not include watches. Yes, it does not include watches, it does not include earbuds, it does not include, because again, California hasn't even defined the label device.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that this wonderful law that was put into place, we don't have, we're waiting for California to give us more rulings and information so that we can work together. And that's one of the reasons why the 27 districts, why the county has headed up this committee with all the superintendents to come together and kind of move together with, they hired consultants for us because everybody's kind of going, what does that look like? And what is it defined as? And what does it mean?
Further questions or comments?
I'd like to probably see a draft or something by the fall of this year. It sounds like, given the total, given the amount of information that's gonna go into creating a plan and how many places it impacts, there's probably going to be iterations on it. And
How about, could we phrase that as an update?
Yeah.
Rather than a draft? Since
Yeah.
it sounds like if we have consultants paid for by the county, we might as well get the benefit of their work products.
That works.
Incorporated into the draft would be my thought.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to push for like, let's see if we can get a date for fall of this year instead of spring, if possible. Or instead of spring of next year.
I think that we can give you updates. I think to Trustee Brown's point, I don't know that we're gonna have enough information from the state as to what's required in an official plan to be board adopted, to be considered compliant and legal.
Okay, that's fine.
So we're happy to continue to provide updates on where we're at in developing the plan.
Okay.
Any further? All right, so we will remove this from the board with Mr. Item.
I think we can leave it, but maybe we remove the
Spring
date.
2025.
Correct, yes.
All right, we'll move on then to item 18, public comments related to closed session items. Are there any public comments related to closed session?
No, there's not present.
All right, and the time is 8:17 and we will recess the closed session.
Good, that's the one before we start to close.
What's that?
We good.